Alright, that's better. Hello everyone, welcome to the GHPC developer stream for the month of November. We've been gone a little while working on some stuff, but we're excited to show it off now. Thank you everyone for showing up. Hopefully the sound's working now. Okay, there we go. So let's just get right into it. I've got the team here as usual. I think we've got Kavi and Beast and Harry. No, Kavi and Waffle and Harry. Harry is in Australia, so it's very late for him, so we're glad that he showed up as well. Okay, so major updates for the Patreon build. That will be dropping at the end of stream today. And we will show what is in that as well. You hear me twice. Why do you hear me twice? Does anybody else hear me twice?
I personally don't.
Okay. Alrighty. Kavi couldn't be here in person today, but as you can see, his spirit is still watching.
I'm there.
Yeah, we've got your round glasses perched up there. Okay, so let's just jump right into it. The GHPC Patreon build is getting a fairly exciting update today. This is going to be specifically the night vision and thermals. I know we were working on several things for the end of year update, including AI and the fire system, but those are not ready yet. So we're giving you some other stuff in the meantime. So let me just change the time of day to nighttime.
Yep, so technically we now have a fully dynamic day-night cycle, including the moon cycle. But,
Yep, we do have day-night cycle. That moon technically changes phases and everything too. So if I were to sit here and cycle it through several days, it would actually change. I'm not going to do that though, because it takes a while.
Yep.
Here's something cool though. The M16 A3 TTS is now actually equipped with the tank thermal sight TTS. So this will pick out hotspots.
To the right, I think. Oh yeah, there it is.
We're finally in place.
Yep. So this gives you quite a bit of extra ability for finding targets. And this applies to the M60 and the tow missile launcher. That also has a thermal unit included. You can see that tank is kind of burning, but also still alive. That's because this is the earliest kind of in progress version of the fire system. These targets will smoke when something is ignited, but nothing else will happen. That's still work in progress. Soon we'll have an update where they'll actually catch fire, they'll burn, turrets will fly off, all that stuff. But it wasn't ready yet. You might be able to see the night spotlight here on this tank is actually turned on. So this is a T-55 with a Luna spotlight. I believe it's Luna 2. It's an infrared searchlight. It has a cover that prevents most visible light from escaping. However, if you were to go into the night sight of the T-55, you would see a bright beam in the infrared view. So let's try that with a T-55 here. So this one also has its searchlight turned on. If we go into the night sight, we can't really see a lot. But if we switch to, the day sight. If we switch to the night sight, we can see plenty. We can turn the searchlight off and on. And we have this very simple fixed reticle. The top of it is kind of the 0 mark, and every few hundred meters there's another change, like the bottom of the hash mark or the top of the caret. And it has a limited effectiveness, limited range, it's a little blurry, but you can pick out some stuff, especially when the searchlight is on. Now, those of you who have played the public build of Gunner Heat PC know that when enemies are using this kind of sight, they can see your searchlight if it's turned on. So this is a risky move. You give yourself a lot more vision at night if you're using the IR searchlight, but if your enemies also have infrared optics, it points directly back to you. So it's a tactical decision whether you want to use this illumination to aid your passive sight.
Yeah, this is very early generation. Is it generation 1?
It,
Night vision?
it is generation 1, yeah. At this time, I think the Americans had the M60A1 with generation 2 night vision. And very shortly after this, the Russians also had generation 2. But in 1985-ish, generation 1 was still, I think, the main Soviet equipment. Do we have any...
Yeah, T-72 is the same.
Yeah, right, T-72. Yes, I was just getting to that. So, there's no T-72 in this map. Oh yeah, you can see the convoy marker light as well here. They were always turned on, but there was no nighttime to make it obvious. These have the same numbering as the tanks themselves. So this tank, this specific T-55 is 307. And then the marker light for convoy driving shows the last 2 digits. That's always been the case, but there was never really a reason to notice it. But here they're kind of showing off especially.
Action, everyone's saying waffle's a little low.
Yeah, let me fix that.
I need my waffle commentary.
I'm turning up the desktop audio a bit.
Testing.
You're probably still a little quiet. Let me boost you.
Oh, they saw the BMP.
Did they? You know, some stuff is in the slideshow. It is what it is.
You've seen nothing.
Yeah. Alright, Waffle, I've boosted you.
Alright, let's see how this is.
It should be a little better. And I'll try to keep my game sound a little lower too.
Alright.
Chat, tell us if pancake is better on volume.
Is breakfast food audible now? Okay, let's jump into the tow because that's more interesting. Oh yeah, by the way, these waypoints were always supposed to be visible for vehicles that are driving when you switch to them. There was a bug in the last version where they didn't show up, but now you can see the path when you're on a tank that has waypoints. I'm not showing it, am I? Let's fix that.
Take 2.
Okay, right. When you're on a tank that has an active path, it will show the path now.
Yep.
There's preset ones for the AI. This is just kind of a debug tool that we enabled. But the cool part is when you switch to a tank that doesn't have any AI active, and then you decide you want it to go somewhere, you can just aim somewhere and hit F4, and it will draw a new route to it and drive automatically. Just a cool little thing to play with. And if you put it like past obstacles, it will navigate through them.
Yep.
This has been in the build the whole time, but I think most people didn't know about it. So you can play with this if you want. This is just a little extra feature.
Yeah, it's mostly just for debugging to make sure the pathfinding isn't doing weird things, which it sometimes does. So
Yeah.
something to keep an eye out for.
Yep.
Eventually you'll use something like this though to, order people around, right?
Yeah. Yeah, we're not sure what, but probably something less debug looking and more professional.
Mm-hmm. So here's the tow thermal sight. This was not in before because we didn't have any thermal sights. Now it is. So it's an early generation thermal sight. This is the tow launcher from around 85. So it doesn't have a lot of the later features. It's not compatible with the more advanced ammo. it fires the regular tow. I believe the ITV fires the iTow currently, but this launcher would also be compatible with the iTow.
There we go, there's the target.
Yeah. You might notice that in thermals, currently a lot of the particle effects are dark instead of light colored like they would be for heat. That's work in progress. We haven't finished our particle heat shader the way that we want it, so we left it out here.
Yep, this is very early work in progress. We've had to kind of cut some features to keep things on track, but this is just the first iteration, so...
Right. Our priority was to get working thermals in so that you guys can play with it. Part of being a Patreon supporter is getting access to these things before they're super polished, and we save the other stuff for our public updates. Speaking of public update, by the way, for those who don't know, we are intending to release an update to the public demo around the end of the year. That it will include everything you see in the Patreon build. We'll have combat, have the fire system, some simple missions, basically the same kind of gameplay as the current public build, but with all this new stuff. So keep an eye out for that. We're going to attempt to get that about the end of the year. In the meantime, Patreon subscribers still get the main updates as things arrive.
We've got a 2A4 crewman in the chat. 2A4 is, I'm particularly excited about doing that one, so it'll probably be sooner than expected. But please join the Discord if you've got a Discord and give us some advice on how to make that.
Yeah, I'm going to drop the link in the chat.
Yeah, if you're a tank crewman, we really value your input, whatever vehicle you drive or drove if you're retired. We need primary source direction, because it can be hard to actually discern what things are actually like in those vehicles. Wikipedia is not reliable, you know, people say a lot of stuff, it's conflicting. So if you were actually there, you actually used the systems and you can tell us what it was like, we really appreciate that. The Discord server, we have avenues for talking directly to the team, and we can give you questions and you can give us answers. You know, it's a pretty cool setup.
He's there. I'm gonna get him tagged. Thank you, Sandcron.
We do have a serviceable scan of the 2A4, so that can be done. I haven't started yet.
Now there's another little minor feature that comes along with Night that I'm kind of excited for. And that is we have upgraded the tracers. So they can be a little hard to see from this view, but let me go to external.
BRDM doesn't have an illuminated sight, does it?
Doesn't have what?
Illuminated sight.
I don't... Well...
It's the PP61 sight. I think it's just a tube.
The reticle... You're saying the reticle doesn't light up?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh. Well, ours does right now.
Oh.
I think it has a spotlight on it, right, too. So, I don't know how that...
Fair fight. The coaxials have been in forever.
Yeah.
Since the first drop of the patron build, I think.
Yep, we've had coax for a long time, but now we have the tracers actually looking better. So everybody who's played the public build and the earlier versions of the Patreon build may have noticed our tracers were not great. They would show up through objects at distance, and they were very kind of one-dimensional, just little dots that flew away. Now we have actual tracer-looking tracers, and they shouldn't have any of those problems.
How are they going to look in the day?
Well, I'll show you. Let's find out.
We've also got a question about the supersonic cracks when they fly past. I think we'll do that, won't we?
I think we could probably pull that off. We'll see what we can do with FMod when we get that implemented.
The audio is kind of just like chucked into the moment. We've got to do a proper audio pass.
Yeah. We have a set of really nice audio that we're sitting on at the moment because of some tooling, but once we get that in, yeah, it'll be nice.
Yeah, technically another feature recently added was temporal anti-aliasing. Might be a little hard to tell, but the edges of things should be a little bit cleaner, especially on vegetation. So that's now in the graphics menu.
Yeah, we've been slowly expanding the graphics menu over time, adding more and more options. So like you can turn off motion blur, which I know is a highly requested feature for the public build, but we're not supporting that anymore. It's just you know, there's a lot of stuff that you can adjust here.
I go full motion blur.
Yes, all the motion blur, 300%.
Intended.
We could pretty easily do the whole. They're saying the phosphorus starts burning too early. Should be, someone says 30 to 50 meters. That's easy change, isn't it?
It is, yeah. So I should clarify the tracer system is also work in progress, like most of these things. We just added it, so it has one color, and the burn starts immediately and doesn't stop. We know how tracers work in real life. We're going to have the burn delay start and then like a finite length, and we're also going to have color variations for different ammo types. Right now they're all like red, reddish orange. Good enough for an initial test.
Is RTX on right now?
RTX is not on right now. We Unity has, I think, some kind of RTX support, but we don't have it yet.
Will we be able to customize the vehicles later? Extra armor, removing things that we're not using, like extra fuel tanks, things like that.
We don't know everything about what customization is going to look like. In scenarios that are historically based, it's probably going to be limited. You're just going to use the vehicles set up how that unit had them. But as far as kind of more freeform stuff, multiplayer modes, whatever, custom missions, we'll probably have some kind of variation available. We just don't know exactly what it is yet. We're focusing right now on getting this demo to be an actual game again, and then at that point we can start playing around with kind of the cool, what if we do this, what if we, you know, have this customization or that customization. We're kind of in this early phase again of, wow, people are interested in the game, let's actually make it really high quality and then go from there. Let me show a better round for this tracer.
People are saying, aren't the tracers supposed to be green for the BRDM?
They are, yes. We don't have color changing in for them yet.
Yeah.
Let me get an actual.
Colors cost extra.
Let me get a long range. Yeah,
Expeditions, yep, that'll happen. We've got the assets for that. We can do that pretty much whenever. He's asking about stowage, random crew accoutrements on the outside of the vehicles and stuff.
Oh yeah, yeah, we can do that. So the new tracers actually show up in thermals as well.
Someone asked before about the what's it called, the sphere reflex, the T-72.
Oh, the gun launched ATGM.
Yeah, I think the T-72 we've got in game at the moment is not gonna.
Yeah,
not
that
compatible
was
with that.
that was a T-72B feature, gun launched ATGMs. We don't have the T-72B in this demo yet. Let me get a wider view of this. So the high velocity rounds, I like the way they look with tracers on.
Do we have any footage of more map stuff?
I don't think so.
The work in progress.
Did one of you guys capture any screenshots of the bigger map?
Oh, we're saying that? Okay.
Well, we can mention it. We're not going to do all the missions on this little map for the public build update and missions. We have a larger piece of Germany that we're working on. It's based on the Point Alpha area, just like we said, you know, the Fulda Gap border stuff. We're starting with a 6 kilometer by 6 kilometer chunk for this demo, and then we're going to expand later on as we go. We're still working out large terrain workflow. It's kind of scaling up as we're able to put resources into that.
I was going to ask, has anyone found the real-world location of our small sample map?
Oh yeah.
And then we had a little competition.
We do have that challenge still. It's still open, where if you find the specific place where this 2 kilometer by 2 kilometer map was taken from, like drop a pin on a map and it matches, we give you access to the next multiplayer test that we do whenever that happens. So if you want to get in on the inside at the fast track, rev up that Google Earth and start looking. You'll probably need access to the Patreon build though, so you can get a good aerial view of this map, or you can beg a Patreon subscriber until they do it. Anyway, let's see. So we've got thermals, we got night sights. T-72 also has this. Let me just show that briefly. It's in the proving ground of all the other stuff right now. We didn't put a T-72 in the teaser map yet. Oh, I should mention about the thermal signatures. All of these vehicles have thermal signatures, but they're very basic. They're not, they don't have different heat sources or anything. They're just like one kind of overall signature. So this will change. This is the first iteration of thermals, just to get them working. In the future, we'll do the thing that we teased before, where the engine has its own heat influence, the guns have their own, the heat up and cool down, you know, the tracks have it. That system is more complex and it takes more time to get it working to a satisfactory level. It also requires more manual editing and authoring of different thermal maps.
Yeah,
so this is a quick way to get you guys thermals as a feature. And then to make it look actually more realistic, we need to take the time to create those assets for each vehicle. So that's going to be a little later. We thought it would be nice to let you play with it though, just as a feature in general.
Yep.
Kudos to Waffle for a lot of this thermal work.
Yeah, now I'm driving in a debug mode right now. This is, if T is the night sight key, if you hit Control T, you get the thermal overlay, in case you want to see that for fun. But that's not going to be in the final game. That's just because this is a demo build.
This looks exactly like when you pick up the invincibility pack in old Doom.
Oh, is that from
Why's
like
your
the
gun
1800s?
erect, dude?
Because I'm driving.
Oh,
There we
okay.
go. Let's get in there and turn the stabilizer on. Alright, we need it to be nighttime for this. That would help.
Hue Wave IPM 1 is done and ready to, well, pretty much ready to go. We need to do some internal.
Yeah, the reason that
damage.
the Abrams and the Bradley are not in right now is because they still need their armor and X-ray models. So we could put them in and just have them be, you know, shooting and not getting shot, but we don't want to keep doing that. We have all these vehicles that are in these partial states of completion, like the you know, the ITV and the M113, BRDM, whatever. These all need to get caught up. We don't want to keep putting in incomplete vehicles. We want to start doing them kind of all at once. Plus, we already have several vehicles in here that they can fight each other, M60, T55, so we're just gonna roll with those and then finish the other ones as we can.
We've got most of these caught up damage model wise, don't we? Except maybe not the ITV, it doesn't have its actual erector launcher model.
Yeah. Here we go. So the dust settled. Here's the night sight on the T-72. It's the same reticle. The Russians actually used this design for, I think, all of their early tank night sights in this era. And then they switched to some of their more complicated ones in a few years. So this works the same as the T-55. The spotlight's rigged to the gun. You can turn it on and off. And it's a fixed reticle, so if your gun is set to 0 range, the markings, the top of it is basically 0, and then the rest of them are different drop marks. The Sabo through BM15 doesn't drop very fast, so you're mostly going to be using the upper part of the reticle anyway at these ranges, but you're kind of going to have to trial and error it.
You can laser night sight.
Oh, there we go.
I think you can. It'll be offset slightly, wouldn't it, though?
Yeah, because there's no marker for the laser rangefinder in night sight, so you're gonna have to kind of guess. But it still works while you're in night sight. It just doesn't change anything. Yeah, it still illuminates like it did before, of course. And the spotlight, of course, is visibly lit up when it's turned on. It's not very bright, but it's there, because that IR filter is pretty intense. It cuts out most of it. Oh, a cool little detail, let me back up the time a bit. The covers on the night sight and the spotlight only go away when it's nighttime. So this vehicle's in daytime configuration right now. It's got covers on the commander's spotlight, the gunner's spotlight, and the night sight right here. If I advance the time, they all disappear. So we're kind of automatically putting the vehicle into night mode based on the time of day, just to make sure everything looks right. This was a feature in the public build as well, but I don't think anybody ever noticed it, because you'd have to specifically notice that the night sight was becoming uncovered in the T-72 night brawl mission. So anyhow, it's just a cool little detail. Do we have any interesting questions right now?
GHPC esports.
Some people were asking about specifics. Some people were saying you may not be able to laze in the night sight.
I don't see why you couldn't.
I mean,
put your hand on the trigger.
Yeah, you could hit the laser button for the day sight while looking through the night sight. I don't see why it wouldn't work.
Just wouldn't be very useful.
Yeah, it's not meant for it, but it would still happen.
PT-76. Oh man. You said the magic word, dude. PT-76 was like barely in service by our time frame, so it's like pretty low priority, but I'd really like to make one. They're cool.
Yeah.
I have a soft spot for shit boxes, man.
Oh yeah, here's the thing. The night spotlight for the T-72 is still on right now, so the T-55 can passively use that illumination. The lighting engine that we're using in the rendering mode supports several lights very easily, so I can use my spotlight in conjunction with that one. I can just let that one do the work, and the area that's illuminated by it is illuminated for me as well. So there's not going to be a thing. A lot of games have an issue with directional lights where if you're not the player that has the light, it becomes kind of simpler. Features get taken away, shadows are gone. I don't think we're going to need to do that here. This should work for other units supporting with their illumination. So you could have like one tank illuminating a target and then 7 tanks, you know, looking at it and shooting. It would be fine.
Will the 72 gun lock when reloading?
Yes. I actually started working on that at one point, but then had to stop because we had other more important things to do. That's the thing that keeps coming up because we're such a small team. We can't do everything at once, and often we'll start looking into something, we'll say, alright, well this has a little issue, we have to come back to it later, and then we shelf it. And then we come back to it later. We'll get to everything when we can, but there's only 5 of us in the core team, plus a couple of occasional contractors, and we're limited by time that people have available because most of the team is part-time, and we are limited by funding for paying for outside help. So I think we're doing really well with the resources that we have available. I'm very proud of the team for what we've done, but we don't have the bandwidth that a big studio would. We don't have you know, loot box money coming in or anything like that, so we do what we can with what we have.
But that just allows us to be more specific in our priorities. We want to get the nice stuff out first, and then the minutia will come.
This is
We're getting asked about T-72B, which is for now a no. it's not really relevant to the theater that we're portraying. This was all like the Soviets were using T-64 and T-80 in this theater. So if we go to like a Chechen sort of scenario, or maybe something like that, I think it'd be T-72Bs, right?
Yes, T-72B will come later. I actually like the T-72B a lot. That's my favorite kind of sub-series of tanks, I think. Beside the Abrams, of course. So, yeah, we'll definitely have T-72B, you know, T-72B3 eventually, all that stuff. We're just kind of starting with 1985 and then moving forward from there so that we have a coherent theme and we're not just cherry picking different tanks. Oh, let's do a Leopard 2. Oh, let's do an M1A2 SEP. Oh, let's do T90. Like, we can't really make scenarios that work if we just grab random tanks. We're starting with an era, we're moving forward, and then once we get enough consistent matchups and vehicle sets from certain times and places, then we can start cherry picking interesting tanks later on.
Can you show after action review in nighttime? See how that's changed a bit?
Sure. Let me just get a shot to use for that.
T-64 versus M1? It's going to be a short fight, I think.
Yeah, the other thing with vehicles is we're really trying to go for feature completeness with the vehicles we have. So adding more vehicles on top makes that a lot harder. So
We do have a lot of stuff
Not
kind of
really.
ready to go, but we're trying to make the stuff we have really nice.
Yeah.
There
It'll be fun.
Oh, yeah, T-72 doesn't have internals yet. You can see T-55 does. AAR works in nighttime. You can still cycle the time of day because this is a dev build, so everything still has controls. Oh, by the way, time of day control is comma and period. That's actually not on the controls list, I just realized, but we'll make a note of that for the patrons when we release the patch.
You've made a liar of me.
So yeah, this all works in after action review mode. In the public build, there was a thing where a light would show up above the target when you're in AAR just to make sure you can see. We haven't put something like that in here yet, so if you're testing the Patreon build and you can't see the X-ray very well on your target when it's nighttime, you can just change to daytime with the time. Yeah, other than that though, it's the same AAR. It should still work fine. If I
Target cheese.
Target cheese? Target cheese is not in the game. It was too strong.
They're asking if you can see the Sabo discarding yet.
You can.
We do have
you always
new
could.
ammunition models.
Yes, I will show those in a moment. I like the way the frag looks in AAR at nighttime.
yes, it's very, very bright. It's nice.
Plus the segmented path, where like it used to be just white and gray, and now it's like super bright glow and then less bright glow.
Some nice dotting or dashing.
Yeah. And
People
those
are-
segments are the frame rate. And sorry, what was the question?
No, it's fine. Well, a while back people were asking about the lighting, and so right now nighttime we're in a full moon, but that will change with cycle, and that will also have probably pretty significant impact on your night sights.
Yeah, I should mention that. So the Generation 1 night vision isn't really that great in real life. I shouldn't be able to see very far. The only reason I can see most of the firing range here is because it's a full moon, clear sky, and that's basically the ideal condition. If it was anything less than that, I would only be able to see basically as far as my spotlight. So you're pretty well blind using the early Soviet night vision in passive mode. It's definitely not recommended, and if you're going up against tanks with thermals, you're in trouble. Let's see if I can pull up something for the ammo, because that was mentioned.
Yep. And people are dying to see the BMP as well.
Oh yeah? They've been
Yep, we
requesting
got
the
a few
BMPs
requests, yep.
specifically? Well, okay, let's see what we can do. First things first. Any other questions from the team here? Or from the audience that the team's relaying? I haven't been able to look at chat basically the whole time so far.
Is there a button to delete the moon?
There is not. You'll have to
for
try
the
to
right
shoot
price.
it. For the right
Right, I've
price.
already
Oh.
tried. You can't blow up the moon. I'm sorry, guys. Doesn't
Just-
happen.
You gotta fire a lot of toes at it.
Yeah, definitely shoot the moon.
It just has really high HP, man. You'll see the bar come up if you actually
Yeah,
land the hit.
The bar will come.
The moon is the final boss.
Yes. Okay, we got that.
Is it easy to change the texture of the moon? God damn it.
Technically, yes.
He wants the Majora's Mask.
Anime
Can you move
moon,
the ammo
bro.
around and have only HE in the turret?
You will be able to. You can't do it yet. Right now, you can't even switch ammo types in the new build because we just threw in something that worked and we're going with other features. That will all arrive, of course. We're not going to have...
The public build had something for it, didn't it?
Yeah, the public build let you switch ammo. We're not going to have less features than the public build in the new one. It's just we haven't got there yet for some of them. We basically have spent the whole year remaking the game from the ground up in a better quality, so we're kind of re-adding these things as we go.
Partnered with Gaijin when? Never.
No, they can... Okay, yeah, nope. Let's see. Ammo. Okay, here we go. Let's go back to screen. Okay, so some of the assets that we've been remaking here are the in-flight models of the ammo. These are not in yet. We're still working on this. There's if you've slowed down time and looked at your shots in either build, you'll notice that we have these very low poly models for Sabo and Heat, and they have discarding pedals and all this stuff, but it's just very flat colored, no detail, low poly. That's changing. In the future, when you look at your shots or enemy shots or any shots that are flying through the air, especially the large caliber ones, you'll be able to see some detail. So it'll actually correspond to the correct ammo types. We're pretty happy with the way they're turning out. So these are the 100mm rounds for the T-55. We've got 3BM25 APF STS there. You can see the 3BK5M Heat on the bottom, fin stabilized. You've got BR412D at the top. Or is that... No, that's OF412.
OF.
And then
Yeah.
BR412D below that. So this is like the standard loadout for the T-55A. These are all going to be visible when they fly through the air. You'll see the pedals come off just like they do now, except it'll be the high detail models. And then these are the 105mm for the M60. We've got 3 different kinds of APF SDS and the Heat round as well. I think the long one is M900, the longest one.
Yep.
That's a heck of a round. So that won't be actually available in the M60 because of breach pressure stuff, but it'll be in the Abrams, which should be nice. That's a very good Sabo for that time.
M900's like 87 or something, isn't it?
Yeah, but we're gonna include it because that's fun.
Because the M60 sucks without it, or is that what you're saying?
No,
Or
we're gonna
like
include it in the Abrams because that's hilarious. But you'll probably be using M833 for the most part, which is the second one down.
You can buy M900 though. It's
Yeah, right. Premium ammo.
Yeah. You get 10 rounds for $1. All right, guys.
Oh,
So
boy.
use it sparsely.
Yeah.
Use it.
We've become the thing we swore to destroy. All right. So let's
Should
look
we
at
just
some more
clarify we're joking? If there
Yes.
might be new people in the stream. That's
stuff.
not
No,
a thing.
yeah.
there will be no pay to win content at all. That's like the driving ethos behind this project in the first place. No pay to win. So
Josh had enough, man. He didn't want to buy another Abrams clone.
yeah, I didn't. I played too much other stuff. I had a bad time and I cracked, and now I'm making a game. It's it's a classic story. All right, so we're working on T-72. Here's some screenshots from the process. Let me zoom in a little. this is going to be a really nice X-ray model. I'm actually super excited for this one. The T-72 is just packed full of ammo. Really, all of these things.
That's actually fuel for the Bashnamet. The fuel
Yes.
stowage is underneath the turret, so that
yeah,
it
exactly.
can
This
gain
is
exit speed. You
for
know?
the turret propulsion system. It has this nice little rack of propellant charges to get the best
Yeah.
velocity. But in any case, when you shoot the T-72 and you get a successful armor perforation and your round goes in, there's pretty much no chance that you're not going to hurt the tank. You can see it's stuffed. It's such a compact design. There's the only space that they have is just room for the crew, basically. Everything in here is just dense. So it's going to be a fun time. I'm excited
But
for
the
that.
CIA told me the TOW can't penetrate the T-72 from front.
The original TOW could have trouble penetrating the T-72 from the front, yes, but not the ITOW, and we have the ITOW as well.
Josh doesn't want to admit it, man. He doesn't.
I have the document. I know that that's true. That there was
This
some trouble.
this image on screen right now, I don't know if it's still up screen, but it's the frontal view. You can
Yeah.
really see that everything below hull line is very vulnerable, and everything above hull line is actually pretty safe for ammunition's sake. So you can definitely see where the design cues are for, hey, what are we going to use this tank for? Let's build a ditch and just park it in it.
Yeah, anything in the frontal aspect here. If you get a successful penetration, you're hitting something, basically. Except maybe over on this other side of the turret, you'll hit the commander in the face and then not catch anything on fire. So maybe successful, I guess. Anyway, what else have we got? Let me queue up some other things here.
Infantry?
Infantry. Yes, we have been working on infantry. That is true. Let me pull up some pictures.
Very early stages.
I thought people had seen all this. Oh well, we'll see.
They
I
haven't
thought
seen
you
all of it.
posted more.
Well, here's one that they definitely haven't seen. Let's go back to screen.
You're on the wrong screen, my guy.
No, that's
We will
fine.
not show the
Oh,
effects.
there we go. They haven't seen that.
There's so we're working on a lot of stuff that's not in yet because we have a whole pipeline where we start with the art and then do coding and testing and all this stuff. Here's one of the things that's in the earlier stages still. These are the M16 family of weapons. You might notice that most of them are infantry weapons, but we have the port firing weapon for the Bradley as well over here. These are all using kind of a modular system for the models and very efficient texture packing. Harry has done a really great job with these assets. They look super high quality from a distance, and they're actually very efficient mesh-wise. So all of the infantry that will be in the game, live in the missions, will have these kind of weapons. And we've shown some AKs as well in the past. I could probably pull those up as well. We got any new questions?
Pear asks about leopard. There's progress on leopards, but I'll show it in the Discord probably rather than here because it's quite early.
Yeah, we're not showing everything at every state that it's in. If we showed everything, you guys would see a lot of untextured models, stuff that has parts missing. It's not super exciting. At least I don't think so. I'd rather show them when they get to slightly later stages where you can really start to see what they're going to look like, and it kind of builds that hype a little bit.
Will there be Russian bias in this game? No, comrade. Only secret document.
The question from the Russian bias. I wonder.
That's a great name.
There will only be as much Russian bias as there was in real life. How's that? What else have we got?
New public
Truck.
plans.
New public build
he's
plans.
allowing.
I believe I mentioned it earlier in the stream, but I'll mention it again. The public build will be updating around the end of the year. We haven't put a specific date on it just in case something goes sideways, but we're planning for right smack dab at the end of the year, trying to have everything ready to replace the current public build with the Patreon build. That will include combat, explosions, whatever, AI, some simple missions, and all the high quality assets. So if you like the public build of GHPC, you should save a copy of it, and because it's just going to get completely overwritten. There will be an update on itch, and if you have the launcher, the itch app, it'll automatically replace that.
Somebody asked, are you guys planning on having heavily detailed crew damage models? I think we have an answer to that, don't we?
Yes, I can show that we have that.
We haven't showed any of that, have we?
Crew damage models. Let's see. I've shown the simple hitbox version. The anatomy version isn't really ready yet. Let me just pull up a screenshot of this. So the basic answer is yes. There's very detailed crew damage. If you play the Patreon build right now, and you shoot a tank that has crew in it, you'll see the fragmentation reports, like, hit driver's brain, hit commander's left arm. Like, it's very in depth. And I think I have a screenshot of the actual zones for that too. Let me find it.
Once we get to dismounts, I guess we'll probably model their helmets and stuff, right?
Yes, their helmets and armor will be worth armor. So this is a development screenshot that I had from before, showing some of the actual hit zones. It's a very detailed system. We have like the spinal cord, the heart, the lungs, brain, eyes, various limbs, and all of them affect the crew in different levels of severity based on specifically what was hit. And in the future there will be a bleed out system and combat first aid. We haven't put that in yet. And also things like if the gunner loses their arms, they won't be able to use the gunnery systems even if they're still alive. So we have a lot of room to create these kind of detailed consequences for crew health damage, and that's pretty exciting, I think.
Something
be-
that's
Oh, sorry.
important to me. How much gore are we going to have?
Yes.
We can't give a specific list of features for that yet, but I want to have as much as we can realistically get away with. Not like gratuitous, but realistic,
I want gratuitous, but hopefully, yeah.
If we can manage like exploding limbs and things like that for high caliber hits, then I think we'll try to do it. I can't promise
we can do it.
Yeah,
I think we can.
I think we can as well, and I already have an idea in my head of how that functions. But let's just say we're not promising it, but we're open to it and we're gonna try it.
FedEx has it.
I would imagine like
Go ahead.
for me, I said I would imagine probably like Rising Storm level stuff. You know what I mean? Like somebody steps on a landmine and his leg goes flying off.
Yeah.
That'd be nice. Yep.
So that's kind of in the plans. As far as infantry also, we've shown some infantry models before, but let me just pull some crew stuff up here. We've got the NATO and Warsaw Pact crew and infantry models in progress. Let me see. Yeah, so here we have examples. There's the CVC helmet, tanker uniform, and then we've got the same thing for Pact as well. So,
Well, we got the Russian one. We don't have the... Well, they're using very close to the same gear. I think they've got different overalls for the Germans,
yeah,
which I haven't made yet because I'm lazy. But
right. So we've got these uniforms, and we can do like different faces and stuff too. Fairly
I would
easily.
never call you lazy, Harry.
he's got a throat mark and everything, dude.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
look
that's
at
some
that,
good
man.
detail. So these are going to be in the vehicles that they belong to. And they'll have animations. We're planning on doing like they can climb in and out of hatches and stuff. They'll be appropriately posed. Where's the other one? Those facial
They're asking
stuff.
about self-propelled artillery.
There we go. Self-propelled
This
artillery.
is-
The short answer is we don't know, and the long answer is we don't know. I don't know exactly to
If
what
we can
extent
make it
those
fun,
things
we'll
will be.
do it.
Yeah,
I'm not sure if we can make it fun.
that's the thing, is we're not going to make everything playable just for the sake of making it playable. There has to be kind of a point to it. So our self-propelled artillery is kind of one of those. Same thing with
It'd be cool,
bridge
but,
layers,
like, we don't
engineering
wanna-
vehicles. If we
Yeah.
can make
Vehicles.
good gameplay around it, then we'll try it.
And specifically without like sacrificing, like if we just throw realism to the wind, we could probably make it fun, but we don't want to throw realism to the wind. We want it to be, we want to have some authenticity to it.
Yeah, I think one thing that's not done very often that we want to try for is to have realism but also fun at the same time, without compromising either one of them. And so that requires us to choose very carefully which things we base our gameplay on.
We're getting a repeated question about this. We get this question every stream. Will high caliber shells deform the terrain? The short answer is all the shells in the game are probably not high caliber enough to make a crater that actually means anything in terms of gameplay. So we will probably not do that. It also is a huge tech thing.
Yeah.
Mm.
It
Like
really
that's
needs,
a lot of work to get that to work properly for nothing, basically.
Right.
really needs to be based on would it even really make a significant crater in real life, and it's looking like no.
If you want like a proper crater in the ground, you need a really, really huge gun, and that's kind of off-map artillery sort of stuff. Which
Yeah. So here's another thing. We'll have extra lighting stuff. We haven't had time to finish it yet, so it's not in this initial release of the nighttime stuff. But things like the marker lights, I think they're called GST, if I'm not mistaken.
yeah, that's the one.
They will be usable. We have other lights like the headlights, commander spotlight, whatever. We have the system in place right now. Those are all designated as lights, but you can't use them. Right now we just have one hotkey, and it's for the gunner spotlight. In the future we'll have some kind of menu to control your vehicle's lighting in more detail. And so all those things will be available, visible, infrared, whatever, like the blackout lights. It's all going to be there. Don't worry. If you're especially interested in being able to control your headlights and all of your markers and stuff, you'll have that ability.
Yeah, that's kind of been an elephant in the room too, is we've been slapping everything on a new keybind, and we know that's not sustainable, and we really do plan on having more proper UI.
Yeah. Somebody asked, with all this high detail stuff, will I need RTX 3080 to play this game on stable 60 FPS? No. We're optimizing as we go. Right now in the Patreon build, things can get a little sketchy because we're focused mostly on implementation, and we don't always have time to make optimizing passes like we want to. But we will do that in the future. We'll focus more on it as we kind of get some breathing room with the core features completed. The game won't release in an unplayable state. It's not going to be like you need a supercomputer to do this properly. We know that people have different strengths of builds, and we're going to try to cater to as many of those as possible within reason. So you're not going to need the cutting edge graphics card to play Gunner Heat PC properly.
Yep.
On that topic, we've recently discovered one of our faithful assets that we're using is hogging a lot of frame time, and we can probably gain quite a bit of performance by replacing that, but we have to get around to that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes this stuff happens, right? You use something, and then it turns out later on that it's not going to work right, and then you got to replace it. And that kind of happened at a large scale with the initial demo that I made. It wasn't scalable. We had to start over at the beginning of this year, and we've come a long way since then. We've seen the same thing happen at kind of a small level with different individual pieces of that build. Something that looked like it would work really well at first turns out to not work for, say, large terrains or a lot of vehicles, and so now we have to make changes. And since we're a small team, as I keep saying, we can't do that turnaround very quickly. It'll happen eventually, but we need time. So if you're on board as a Patreon supporter, you'll see things as they go through the ups and downs of optimization, and that doesn't reflect our goals for the final product. That's just how development goes.
We want it to be pretty lean because you can't have meaningful combat on like less than good frames, like let's say 40 or something like that. You want decent frames to be able to actually play the game. And the other one is like, we don't want to be sitting on your hard drive taking up tons of space, because then eventually people will just uninstall it if they're not playing it all the time. We want it to be something that you might keep around even if you're not like religiously playing it.
Yeah, we're trying to
file size as well.
We're trying to keep it to small size so that you have quicker downloads. It doesn't hog your drive, just like Harry said, and people with limited connections or limited hard drive space can still play it. That's part of the reason that we've gone for these kind of medium or low poly vehicle models. If you get like really zoomed in on our models and you compare them to some of the other tank games, you'll notice that ours are not really as detailed, but they hold up fine from, typical gameplay distances, and they look fine. So that's...
I wouldn't say not as detailed. I would say not as high res, right? You don't have as many polygons.
Not as many polygons. They're very detailed, actually, as far as equipment goes. In fact, let me pull up a picture of the T55 upgrade that we've got coming. So we've paid a lot of attention to detail, but we don't have the resolution that some of the other like AAA stuff has.
And
that was a
lot more about
conscious decision because we get a quicker dev cycle that way, and we don't tax people's systems as much.
We can basically make more stuff or less stuff but higher resolution, and we choose more stuff.
And I think most people would prefer to have more stuff in the game than to have only a few things in super high resolution. So this is the T55A update. We're going to introduce the one that doesn't have a laser rangefinder, and here are some screenshots of it in the modeling phase. It's still optimized low resolution model, but it's extremely detailed. This has gone through a cycle of research, going back and forth with experts, comparing to source material, and we're very confident in the appearance of it. That's the same kind of care that we put into most of these things in the game when we have the time to. So this is going to be a really nice model. The T55 is still going to play the same as it always did, but as far as like if you're a T55 fan, you know what's supposed to be where, I think you'll be happy with the way that it turns out in the game.
Tactical log. Yeah, this is a Czech one. They didn't use the tactical log.
And we have the ability to reconfigure this as well, like with different optional equipment. We haven't just made the Czech T55. There's different setups for this model. I think I still have that screenshot somewhere.
Yeah, that's the reason for this, like, basically restart of the T55. Like, it's set up to fill more. We can do more variants of it, and it's also the basis for upgrades. You probably know what's coming if we're doing East Germany. The coolest T55 is coming.
Yes.
Yeah, boys. You know what it is.
Let's pull up a quick. Whoop. What was that? All right. So there's a lot of cool stuff coming down the pipe. Do you guys know about the Abrams and the Bradley already? I should probably say, just for the record, we're still working on them, but not as fast as we could because we're focusing on other features right now. We're trying to get combat missions back in the Patreon build. That's very important for the playability of the demo. So we've decided that we're not going to try to rush the Abrams and the Bradley to full production readiness until the game is a game again. At some point very soon, though, after the demo becomes playable again with missions, we will get right back on the Bradley and the Abrams because those are very iconic vehicles. They're very enjoyable to play. It's killing me to not have the Abrams in the build because the fire control system is so good in the Abrams compared to anything else in the build right now. I really want that to be in there for people to enjoy So it's coming. We haven't forgot about them. We've just put them on the back burner for now. There's priorities. What do we got for
I just want
questions?
to say, we have 105 views right now. I think that's another peak. Every time we stream, we get, I think we peak every time. So that's awesome.
I mean, it makes
but-
sense, yeah. People are
which
hearing about the game, which is really great. I should say, while I
Yeah.
have everybody here, the reason we're able to keep doing this is crowdfunding, community support. And if you like what we're doing and you want to see it keep going and go faster, patreon.com/GunnerHeatPC. That's how you support us. That is the most important way and the most helpful one.
And thank you so much if you're already a patron.
Yes, if you are a supporter, we love you. You're making this whole thing possible. We very much appreciate your support.
It's how to make it go faster as well, because we can get more people on board to help.
Oh,
We
yeah.
can only afford to have a few people working on it at the moment.
Yeah, big surprise. People with professional skills usually charge money for their services. So as long as we have enough money coming in, we can keep getting people to consult and help us.
1 year patron in the chat. Nice, man.
Thank you
Thanks
so
for
much.
the support.
I'm Satire.
Thank you, I'm Satire.
Yeah, there's we've got a lot of pay them in exposure bucks. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, God.
Yeah,
We've been pretty aggressively anti that. We always try to give
yeah.
people money for their contributions, even if it's only a little bit.
Our team consists of a lot of people who have experience with professional stuff and a lot of people who are players of these games. So we know the bad practices that happen, and we try our best to not be part of that problem. Whether that's from a hiring and a payment perspective for our consultants and our team, or gameplay and economy stuff for later on. We're trying not to fall into the same pitfalls that we've seen in other things. All right, what else we got? Was there any other stuff I was going to show here that we're forgetting?
Did we get to the truck?
We did not get to the truck.
Oh, my truck.
The truck.
On the truck.
Truck lovers.
Gotta show off that truck.
Yeah.
So this is the big announcement, I suppose. We're pivoting. We're just going to be a spin tires, Clay.
That's what we're doing, guys. I'm sorry, but
Yeah.
and we're gonna do some dirt rally stuff too, because
Mhm.
Harry's been showing off.
Oh
some
yeah, we're going to be
Ladas
a
and
lot
stuff.
of rally. That's the DLC for this game.
Yeah.
Anime drivers only.
So
It's a truck racing visual novel, actually.
mhm. So we have two different versions.
Much
of...
truck.
Oh my God, it's so distorted. We have two different versions of the Ural in progress. Not every vehicle in Gunner EPC is going to be a combat vehicle. There's going to have to be targets, logistics missions, things like that. So we've got the 375 and the 43 something.
40-30. Yeah.
Yeah.
Two versions of the Ural.
Yep. It's like the heavy one and the medium one or whatever. They're Oh, okay.
375 is going to be mostly in service with the Germans, and the 40-30 with the Russians. But they're pretty similar, honestly.
Yeah. BTR says 375D and 4320. There we go.
That's
Thanks,
the
BTR.
one.
Yeah, so these are really nice models, just like all the other vehicles. I guess unless we have some logistics missions, you'll probably only see them from a distance, like stitching them with 762. But hey, it is what it is.
How are you going to do my boy like that, man?
Yeah, I know.
God, the NATO talk coming from Josh right now, man. Jeez.
What can I say?
The tray is also the interesting thing about this is relative to the last set of trucks stuff that I did. The tray is going to be like a separate asset, so we can replace that with a bunch of different stuff like the armor
Yes.
beds and the water tankers.
Maybe the grad as well, if we feel real
Maybe.
froggy.
Water's
Did you hear
more
that? He wants the
important.
water
though.
tanker, boys.
I want the sip, man. I want to sip that thing.
You want the sip. Anyway, so with as many viewers we have in chat, feel free to ask questions, guys. We're open to all of them, and we'll answer your questions.
Let me pull up the game again so I can get some cool thermal stuff on the screen while we answer questions.
Yeah, and anyone who showed up late, what we have showed off so far is night vision optics and thermals with this stream so far. So, and Josh is about to go start cooming again. So
I've seen a couple of these.
You can't do that on
multi-
Twitch, TOS.
We just keep getting the question: are we going to do multi-crew? We answer it every stream.
Yes,
Yeah,
we're
so
gonna
We
do
should probably
multi-crew.
do a vision trailer or something, so we can point people to this.
But multiplayer's a while off. Multiplayer's a hard thing to do.
Yeah, we're starting with single player, and then we'll go to co-op, and then maybe some PvP at the end. Multiplayer is a big undertaking, so it's not going to be soon, but it is coming. And multi-crew will be part of that, so you'll be able to share a tank with your friends, yell at each other, go see what you can do, all that stuff. It's going to be a lot of fun.
I'm looking
Multi-crew for trucks.
Random
would that
schmuck.
work?
What the hell?
You and your boys just sitting in the front seat of your Ural. Okay, let's go, man.
Hey,
We got a good question. This is a good question. How inspired are you guys by Steel Beasts?
Yes.
Steel Beast is quite inspiring, actually. It's the only proper tank simulator that I know of that exists, and it's been around a long time. It's definitely well established, and their fire control systems are just phenomenal. I definitely aspire to the level of detail they've achieved.
I don't think we see themselves as their competitors. They are really on a different market to us. A lot of their clients are military. I don't think we really have any aspirations to go into that market. So we sort of I think I'll put it this way: the Steel Beast guys, when their forums have been have had threads about our project, the Steel Beast guys have been really, really good and really, really civil about our project, and
Yeah,
I think that's a really
Very
good thing. We
respectful.
have a lot of respect for them.
they've been very classy to us, and we
And
appreciate
supportive,
them as
even.
well.
I would call it supportive.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think they
Yeah,
would
they've
love
been
to
supportive
have
of
more
us, man.
things out there, more of these kinds of games out there.
Super cool. I still got my little USB thumb drive thingy from them.
Nice. Oh, I turned all my vegetation up, so I'm getting low frame rate right now.
NBC conditions. That'd be really fun, but it's really too early to say right now. We
It'd
have
be hard
thought
to get
about
that
it.
right too. That's a huge research task as well.
Right. We
should hit
have
up
thought
that
about it to
guy,
answer the question though.
Yeah. We should hit up that guy that did the thing on itch.io, the Stepanovic or something. He made there's a thing on itch.io. We should plug his thing because it's cool. It's called Nuclear War Simulator, and this guy has gone through all the white papers and stuff of all the studies of the impacts of nuclear war, and he's simulated the whole thing. It's not a game yet, but it's really, really cool little simulator. You can simulate a nuke strike on some area, and it'll have all the way the wind carries the fallout and all that stuff is simulated. Really cool.
We should plug that in chat if we got the link.
Oh, I'll try and pull it up. Anyway, Josh, talk.
Yeah, so one thing I forgot to mention here, I know the smoke isn't the right temperature in thermals, like I said, we're working on that, particles, but it's coming from a hole that I poked in the tank when I lit it on fire. So the system's not working perfectly yet, this is just a little bit of it snuck in to the night vision build, but part of the fire system is going to be when a tank is sealed, and it's pierced and a fire started, the hole that you created in the tank will be an avenue for smoke to escape. I think Steel Beast does this, if I'm not mistaken, and it looks really cool. I always thought it was awesome, so we're also doing that. But then, if hatches are open or the crew open them, whatever, those will become exits as well, and you'll see fire come out and all that stuff. So that's coming later. We haven't finished the fire system yet, and you guys will get it when we do.
Do you want to talk about what you're doing with that? It might not make sense why it's taking a long time, but it's kind of detailed, right?
So the trick about that is in the old build, we had a system where the fire would only be based on what was struck, and it would happen instantly. So propellant getting hit would create a deflagration 100% of the time instantly. A warhead like heat or HE would blow the turret off 100% of the time instantly. There was no nuance to it. There was basically only two kinds of fire that could happen, plus engine fire, I guess, so 3, and then that was it. It worked pretty well for just effect, and it looked cool, but it's very predictable and it's not very realistic, and it also precludes fire fighting systems extinguishers and stuff from being used. So long story short, we're completely redoing how that functions. We have a system of compartments. We have a coherent setup for flammable items, marking them and what they do. And when things are ignited by incoming projectiles or ambient temperature, as the case may be, they will affect whether there's a fire in a compartment, how hot it is, how much it's spreading, and the visible effects on the vehicles will change as the fire develops. So you'll have things like delayed cook-off. You'll have a deflagration that starts after a couple seconds, you know, like things that you see in real life. If you look at videos of tanks getting struck by ATGMs or other munitions, you'll see that they don't just immediately blow the turret off or immediately burn or whatever. There's like some sequence to it, and we're going to implement that in GHPC as well. Fire suppression systems will be part of this. I see somebody asked about this. So if the fire is small and it's in an area that is covered by an automatic extinguisher, or the crew can extinguish it, there will be the ability to put that fire out, or at least try to. But if it's too out of control too fast, or the crew are incapacitated or whatever, obviously it's going to spread.
That whole like slow development, like making the fire happen over time, that'll become meaningful when we could do like bailouts and stuff like that, I think.
Yeah, because there will be situations in the game where you have an incentive to save your crew. So you'll want to be able to have them survive long enough to do an evacuation order, instead of sitting in the tank while it catches fire and burns just to go down off the ship, you know. That's that kind of strategy makes sense if the crew mean nothing and you only have the one tank and you're just trying to take as many people with you as possible, like in a multiplayer match. But that's not going to be the way it works here most of the time, I think. You'll want to save the crew more than just, you know, fighting until it burns.
Anyone who's new, by the way, that's like a kind of a focus that we're going with. We want to make the crew probably more valuable than their machine, in terms of like gameplay. Like you will hold on to them or whatever, something like that. Something like if you've played like FTL or something like that, it's your dudes start to mean a lot because you sort of develop a bit of a, as far as a game is concerned, you get like a relationship with them, and you get used to them and stuff.
Yeah.
Point system like squad? What do you mean?
Like he means for the question above, like unit attrition and things like that.
Oh.
Squad has like a victory points system. Maybe that's what he's talking about. Like kills count toward like depleting tickets and everything. Kind of like Project Reality.
I think FTL is probably a good benchmark, because it's like the progression system in that is pretty simplistic, and our thing might be that simplistic, or it might be more complicated. We don't know. There'll be something that'll make you attached to your crew. You'll gain some sort of, I don't know, keeping them alive will have a good effect one way or another. We don't know yet.
It won't be like a detrimental grind to the point of certain games, but you'll want to keep them.
Ricochet.
I got a ricochet.
Nice bounce.
Yeah.
Yeah, so really, like, you want to keep your crew alive, right? So if your vehicle's on fire, you're probably going to get out, right? So
There you go.
somebody asked, will you be adding things like active protection systems like the tank T-14 or Armada have?
Yes.
Well, currently, considering that we're in the 80s,
we
we
also
have
get
a
this
very
question.
long time to go.
We also get this question every stream. I think every stream without a break, we've gotten an APS question. The answer is yes, but you are not going to see APS-enabled tanks in this game for a while because we're starting with 1985 and they didn't have that.
Well, I think there are some Russian tanks in the 80s that did experiment with the whole idea, but I don't know if we'll do it.
Yeah.
That was a
I don't
T-62
know.
experiment, though, and I don't think it ever made it to
Yeah,
service.
they had a T-55 with it, but I don't think they really put it into much use.
Experiment? Prototypes? Get that out of here.
Prototypes? Those are verboten here.
We do get
The-
asked about prototypes a lot, and
All
the
that
answer's no.
weird stuff is just nowhere near as important as, like, I don't know, trucks. Like, maybe we need a truck before we do that.
Actually, yes.
I get it, Harry.
'Cause,
You like
like,
the truck.
Because it's just, there's more of them around and it makes more sense. Like, we have to sort of have this conversation a lot of the time, but it's when you think about all of these vehicles, they exist, they were designed to operate in a certain context, and that context isn't surrounded by random prototypes. It's surrounded by things like trucks and APCs. Like, you might be like, oh, the M60 is such a hunk of junk, it's got this 105 gun, it's kind of a piece of shit, but it's like, this thing is probably going to be hunting a lot of BMPs and a lot of BTRs and stuff like that. It's going to eat those things up like no problem, right? So you have to create the context where the thing is meant to exist. Otherwise, it doesn't make sense. The design of it doesn't make sense unless we've created its proper context.
Yeah, people have expectations about what makes sense to put in a tank game based on other tank games, and the other tank games have an incentive to have as many vehicles as possible and to keep creating more and finding more to put in. So they go to paper tanks, prototypes, whatever. We don't have that incentive. That's not what our game is about. So you have to ignore the voice that says, oh, there's a tank game, where's the MBT-70? Like, that doesn't necessarily make sense, and that's not what we're going for. That's your expectations being set by other games. And we're not following the same path.
Yeah. Going for simulator light and limited anachronisms.
Yes.
Yep, and that's also
Just M900.
big reason why we would really like to do infantry, because it's very underrepresented in tank games, and infantry are much more prolific than these, weird prototypes and stuff.
Yes.
A huge piece of the puzzle.
A tank game with no support vehicles, no infantry, no air cover it's just weird. So combined arms is going to be a big, important part of this as well.
You just got to look at the documents of all the stuff that got handed over, like when this whole thing collapsed, this whole Cold War thing just like got cancelled. Everything that the East Germans handed over, it's just like so many APCs. Like, I think like if you think of if this conflict actually kicked off, most of the units of violence that happened would probably be between an APC and something.
Yeah, I think you guys are going to be surprised how important IFVs are in this game. There will likely be game modes where you can't win unless infantry are deployed to a specific spot and capture it. Like, you won't be able to go around doing a kill streak in a MBT and win the game. You have to guard the troop carriers.
Trucks.
Mighty Bjorn with the Action Scripter just wants to add the Sheridan and be done with it. That's actually Harry's wheelhouse, man. He wants the Sheridan. Anyway.
I told you I have a soft spot for shitboxes, man.
He does. He absolutely does. The Sheridan being the biggest one for sure. Somebody else asked, way up above, is the Weasel being considered?
Of course.
Yeah, of course, man. We gotta have the Weasel. That thing's awesome.
We haven't worked on West Germany much yet, so Leopards, Martyr, Weasel. Yeah, don't worry.
The Weasel's going in our Battle Royale mode, along with the Sheridan.
Yeah, you'll jump out of a C-130 together. 100 of them will just fly out the back, and then you'll pick up other tank upgrades. You can become
It'll be just like
a
Fortnite.
T90. That was all a joke.
Just like Fortnite.
All a joke.
Oh my god. Let me see if I can get some ground lighting on this aesthetic. Thanks for the follow.
Sheridan will just be super cool because it won't be like anything else in the game, really. Like, it'll be its own weird thing. And loading that thing up with flechettes and just like flattening a whole infantry squad, I think that'll be peak gaming moment,
Did you just say?
You said the word, man.
I said it.
Say the word!
Don't acknowledge it.
Yeah, you can kind of see the ground lighting, yeah. The new tracer upgrade. I know tracers are like a really minor feature, but I really like how they turned out.
Pretty big for gameplay, too.
You turned it around pretty quickly, too.
I did. Yeah, that was right at the end of the night feature cycle, and we were like, we should really have better tracers if we're going to do night. And then we did.
Russian Bias asks, will we be able to choose what kind of rounds we have in the MGs? So choose between tracers, HE, AP, and other. Probably not on MGs. Wouldn't they just have standardized belts that you just chuck in?
Usually, yeah. I don't know. Once we get the ammo loadout menu implemented, we'll see what we can come up with. We're not going to put in, like, probably a lot of crazy options just for the heck of it. We might allow custom loadouts. We'll see. That's not all.
Custom builds.
It's not set in stone yet. Like
I think a
in
lot of
tank
those
game,
things on
being
sorry.
able to do all Sabo would be fun.
Yeah.
So we should probably provide some options. We'll see. What were you gonna say, Harry?
I think on the actual belt fed stuff, it's like they loaded those things up in a little crank machine thingy, looking like a coffee grinder.
Yeah, they
I don't
did.
know, I can't see them versus like they were actually like on the proper like main gun ammunition. They'd actually pass each individual one up, and then there's more reason to suggest they could choose different stuff.
Yeah.
But I think on the Bradley you can switch. There's like multiple feeds, isn't there?
There are.
You switch
can
between
switch.
two. You have your
Yeah.
AP rounds and your HE rounds, and then I know that War Thunder right now is doing mixed belts, which is not accurate, and we'll make sure that it's not going to happen to you guys. But as for like machine guns, if you're PKT, you want to just load all tracer. I don't think we'll do that. I don't think we'll
I
go
don't
to
think
that
they'd
level
even be
because I
able
don't
to
think
do that if they wanted to, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, like Hellfish actually said in chat, he was a machine gunner for 3 years. He never got to choose his ammo, right? So it's like, it's kind of, it's really nitpicking what kind of ammo you want. I don't think we'd actually go that far. A bullet is a bullet, comrade. Somebody else asked, they say we're focused on Europe conflict for the moment. Will we expand later and include Israel conflicts or other conflicts?
Of course.
I think we'll definitely do that.
So, Europe is not the only place that tanks exist, obviously. And even though it's a very easy way to get some of these classic vehicles in a plausible conflict against each other, it's only one of many. Gunner Heat PC isn't just going to be a game about 1985. That's just where we're starting. It's a logical starting point. We're going to do some desert stuff. We're going to try to look into as many different variations of different conflicts as we can. There might be a time when it makes sense to say, okay, let's do some Palestinian thing. Let's do Korea. We're going to look around and see what makes sense to add as we get the development bandwidth and the time to add new places.
MDuck's comment is pretty much exactly why we chose this theater, because it's like if you get all the vehicles relevant to this theater, you've got most of the ones that people want in all the other theaters as well.
Exactly.
You can sort of pivot pretty easily.
Exactly.
Like if we add, I don't know, put some K1 on the T72, and you've pretty much got enough stuff to make Syria, right?
It's true.
And a Toyota.
The modeling workload is a lot lower once we already have a T72, a T55, an M60, and all these things sort of made.
Yeah.
The Fulda Gap is like the mega tank Coomer battle that never happened, right? So it's like you start here and you'll have the base for a lot of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Will we get less serious tanks to just mess around with that won't really be effective, or only serious vehicles?
Only serious stuff.
I mean, we have the BRDM, so obviously it's not only effective things.
Shots
Just
fired.
egg the king, dude.
Yeah,
Oh, man.
sometimes you gotta do it. You can't let them get too cocky. Yeah, so we're gonna have various kinds of vehicles. If something had a support role and wasn't super effective as a tank, it's not necessarily gonna be excluded. Like, we could put the Sheridan in, and the Sheridan sucked, but it was a great support vehicle. When will Harry make an army of grenade dog suicide bombers to sneak under the tanks?
Yeah.
I've been asking him that the whole time, and he keeps dodging. I don't know.
The very first day Harry started, that's what we asked of him, and he just hasn't done it yet.
It's overdue. Task is overdue in Trello, man.
Yep.
Yeah. Well,
We don't use Trello, what are you talking about?
Hellfish, you're right. The M113 is a shitbox, but we have the ITV as well, so it can kind of redeem itself. It's like the M113 will get bullied, and then you'll see the shadow of the ITV show up, and everyone will be like,
Yeah. Remember this guy? This is him now.
careful who you bully in middle school.
Yeah. I don't know. The M113, it's, I don't know. Is it really a shitbox? There's a reason it stayed in service for so long. Like, a vehicle's job isn't just to blow up other vehicles and do cool shit. It's like, it's got to be serviceable, and that thing stayed serviceable for a very long time.
Yep, for sure.
It's just
Yeah.
it's not.
I
good in
wouldn't
a
call it a shitbox.
tank dueling context at all.
Dynamic
Well, it is a box.
smoke scattering.
It's
Phoenix.
just not shit though.
The smoke, we have the smoke grenade launchers in kind of a partially completed state right now. We'll do ESS as well. And then smoke shells are a possibility. I don't know exactly what artillery support's going to look like, but so there'll be things like probably illumination flares in nighttime, for example, because these battles wouldn't have been fought just with the onboard night vision systems. There'd be other ways of doing it. So smoke is one of those things where it's not necessarily going to be added immediately, but we do know about it, and we're going to try to see what we can do. What else?
Hellfish, did you ever sleep on the ramp, dude? I heard the ramp is comfy, man.
On the M113?
Yeah. It's a classic sleeping spot from what I've heard.
Yep. All right,
When
we've been
We're gonna
going
get
for...
Hellfish on the stream. Just interview him.
Yeah, we've got several crewmen in our community who have some very interesting stories.
It slept on the engine deck?
the
Jesus Christ.
the ramp is
man.
for dismount heathens.
Oh, the lore.
Different class of sleeping.
See, we've been focused so hard on the vehicle details because of what we're making. There's so much serviceman lore that we keep getting glimpses of that I can't even grasp that world yet. Okay, we've been going for an hour and a half, so let's take a few last minute questions and then wrap it up. Will the Soviet smoke launchers be realistic and shoot out to 300 meters and not be fast pop? Of course. We have the ability to make these function however we want, so I don't see a reason not to make them realistic. We're not going to do like instant burst smoke for gameplay balancing purposes. Basically nothing in Gunner GHPC is made for balance purposes. We have the stuff set up how it worked in real life, and then we can do soft balancing by scenario design if we have to. Like one side has different kinds of vehicles or more than the other or something.
Crew will play a big role with that too.
Yeah. And keep in mind, this is not a game where MBTs rule the world, and if you're not in a tank, you're nothing. Spotting and support stuff will be very important. So if you're in a BMP and you know that you can't really kill much with your Malyutka and your 73 millimeter, that's fine as long as you get in your position and you report stuff and you support the infantry or whatever. You know, you do your job, you work toward the victory for your team just as well as somebody in a T-72 trying to pick off M60s.
I got a couple. This was asked earlier, and I answered it in the affirmative, but just to confirm, illumination flares.
Yeah, we're planning it. So, like I said a second ago, night vision on board on the tanks is not the only way that night vision would have been done in real life. There would have been flares launched by artillery, maybe even mortars. There were several different kinds. So we'll be trying to implement something like that. I know that, I think War Thunder actually recently did this too. In their night maps, they now have automatic illumination flares that kind of cycle through. We'll have something to that effect. Not sure exactly what the sequence will look like or the timing or whatever.
Radio Kill asks, will there be physical sparks? I'm not sure what that question means.
Are you talking about sparks that will bounce off of things with the physics engine, like collision enabled? That's an optimization question.
Right.
That like the particle systems have that ability, but if we have too many things like collision enabled, it can start to bog down the system. So that's like that's an optimization thing. We'll have to find that out as we go. We don't know yet.
What do you see them doing in the game, like starting fires or something?
Yeah, I think it's just a visual question.
Oh,
I
That's
just want to see the visual fidelity
Yeah.
with that, I guess.
Will illumination
start
flares
firing.
and other artillery rounds have physical models like tank ammo?
yeah,
Yeah, it's
I'll model that.
it's not really I don't know who's gonna go and zoom in on it, but I guess if they do, it'll be there. Yeah.
You could probably see the parachute from the illumination and stuff, right?
Yeah, you could, I guess, if you look close, but for the most part, you're just gonna see the glare from the ground.
Yep. I'm pretty excited to animate parachutes, man. It's going to be a lot of sadness for me, but I think it'll look cool when we're done.
I've animated a windsock before, and that was already complicated enough.
Feel flexed upon.
Yeah. We believe in Harry. He's got what it takes. We just throw him all these complicated things. Hey, can you make this happen? And he goes, and then he does it.
He sighs and then he just does it. And he calls us a lot of words that we can't say on this stream.
Very
So
Australian.
Chesty-
Can't say that because you're not Australian. It's cultural appropriation.
It's fair. It's fair.
Jesse says, will there be a chance for random misfires or other general faults with modules? I don't think we'll do that. We may have an option for it, but if you go to
Yeah.
shoot and it doesn't shoot, is that gameplay? That's not really gameplay, right?
That's
it's kind of
tough.
just annoying.
It's
It's just,
because the thing is, when you're using something in real life and it doesn't work, you know that it's had a fault and you have to clear it and whatever. That's a fact of life. If you go to use something in a game and it doesn't work, you rage quit the game and then go flame the developers on the forums. So
yeah.
we have those other considerations. Like, it might not be fun. It might be a constant source of issues for us trying to communicate. No, that wasn't a bug. Your thing broke. You picked a bad tank. Like, it doesn't sound like it's necessarily a good idea. So I'm not going to say hard no, but I don't think it's going to be a priority for us.
It's
Yeah.
very like it's classic IO problem, right? Like software design sort of thing. Like if you say you did an FPS with a pistol, right? And if you had a misfire on a pistol, you could actually visualize the stovepipe or whatever, and you'd see, okay, if I pull the trigger again, I'm gonna get nothing's gonna happen, and you can actually see that coming. Whereas this, it's kind of like it's very abstracted, and the machine is not as visible. I've got noise outside my window just in case that's coming through.
It's not coming through. Loreski, thanks for the follow. Yeah, so communicating what's happening is going to be very important because it's a game, and not everybody wants to learn how their tank works in detail when they play it. They just want to jump in and play. We'll have some way to review the unique properties of each tank because there's a lot of them and they're coded in. For example, let me pull up the T-72 again. There's the night vision shut off when you fire to save the optic. That's a real feature and we implemented it. Anyway, the point is tanks have these unique characteristics and people aren't necessarily going to expect them. We can't expect everybody to study the tank like this is some kind of DCS situation where you got to learn everything about it to use it. And so if we put those things in and we don't properly convey them while they're happening, it's just going to be a bad experience for players. The whole point of this is we want to have this realism, but also make it easy to use and fun to play. So we're going to have to take some things out for the sake of player experience every, now and then. Keep the core stuff, keep the gunnery realistic, keep the damage models realistic, but as far as controls and gameplay, we want to make it smooth, because that's fun.
I think the key difference between I think there's a lot of people intuitively understand this, but they don't think about it in depth unless they're a game developer, right? The balance between something being frustratingly hard and something being satisfyingly hard is you've got Dark Souls and stuff, which is a hard game, but it's hard in a good way. And I guess some people would say Tarkov is like that as well. Games like that, they're difficult, but they're rewardingly difficult. And the reason they're rewardingly difficult is because if you fail at them, you learn something about why you failed, and you get better at the game. It teaches you something. The game basically teaches you how to play it through your failures. If we had random misfires happening, you can't learn anything from that. You can't get better at the game. You can't be like, oh, well, I guess next time I will hope that there's no misfire. You can't really learn much from it.
Yeah.
We want to create a game where if you fail, you come away from it learning something new, learning a new approach that you've got to,
you should be
it's
able
not
to
just
learn from your mistakes organically instead of learning from a wiki page.
Yeah.
Here's
Medium
Comes back to the whole
or
stalker thing
environment.
that we were talking about.
so here's
Stalker's
something,
brilliant.
an example of a little detail that we've put in. When you switch to night sight in the daytime, it doesn't work. The cover is on to save the optic. It would overpower it and break it. But then as soon as you cycle you start accelerating the time of day, all of a sudden it opens up. And now it's nighttime and I can use the optic. However, there's still more to this picture. I'm all set up to fire, I've got my spotlight on, whatever, but when I pull the trigger, the muzzle flash will be bright. So as long as the trigger is held down, the night sight is blocked or disconnected.
Even though I think this is manual on the real one, right?
Yeah, so there's some discrepancy here because the T-72 didn't have this feature immediately. It was in a slightly later edition. It was manual in this one. The crew had to do it themselves. However, again, this comes down to a gameplay consideration. Would it really be fun to have to memorize the keybind for manually shutting your night sight off when you fire so you don't flashbang yourself? I don't think so. Maybe some people would like that, but the average person isn't going to want to know that. So we do it automatically. And
the other key thing is if someone does that to themselves, they don't know what the hell's happened. Like they fire and then the sight just goes white and they're like, okay, I don't understand what happened.
Yeah.
And we could have a text tutorial come up, but then it's taking you out of the game and you don't gain anything from that. We want the game to be something that you can learn by doing, right?
Yes, exactly.
Mako, but then we can dunk on the noobs who haven't learned the hard way.
Yeah, but that's shit. We don't want to create that kind of community
Yeah,
where it's
exactly.
like you've got the secret knowledge and that's why you win. It should be you win because you have good strategic decision making skills, or you're thinking ahead and you're ahead of you've got good game knowledge that's not just like some random UI thing. That's a UI thing basically. It's not actually strategy.
Mm-hmm.
We'll probably have some like Ultra Coomer mode way later down the line for you guys who want to literally torture yourself trying to figure that out.
Yeah, that's when we take this design approach, it really opens us up to be able to implement a hardcore mode later on. That's way more hardcore than even the regular game because we can always code in all that stuff if we need to, and then just have it disabled by default. But that's not a good priority this early in development, and for the average audience, it would just be kind of foolish to include that by default.
It's funny you mentioned Receiver actually, because like I would say Receiver is a good example of a game that you can learn by your failures. Like if you press a button and the mag falls out, like all the controls that you have access to at any given time in Receiver are on the screen and it's context sensitive, and you can see like if you fail to do something, you kind of like the results are instant. There's feedback. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for
Right.
sure. If the hammer
Like, if the
falls
mag
and you don't
falls out,
fire, and you're
yeah.
like, "What happened?" And you're like,
That's a good amount of detail in a small amount of controls that you have to learn. But for something like this, it would be encyclopedias of stuff just to learn the minutia.
Yeah. Well, the other thing about Receiver is that whole game is basically just operating the gun. Like the rest of the game is really, really simplistic.
Yeah.
Whereas this, it's like we put some details into the fire control because that's where most of the moment-to-moment gameplay is going to be.
Right, so we can't make the whole gameplay learning how to operate the T-72, like have the wiki page up on one monitor and the game on the other. That's not what we're going for. We have a whole game that is just using this stuff as one piece of it. And we want you to be able to operate each vehicle with kind of the same control scheme in mind. You learn it once, you're good. If there's a couple little quirks about a vehicle, like, oh, the M60... you have to dump the lead sometimes if it goes off center or stuff like that. That's a skill curve thing. You can learn that and quickly get back into the meat of the gameplay. We don't want it to be distracting from the actual point.
What we're really saying is we're going to help you get good.
Yeah.
you should see Kavi at the range. He is our master gunner.
Oh my
after all.
god! Do you know how great I am at gunnery?
Yeah.
I can't wait for multicrew.
I get so tilted watching Kavi play.
Yeah, boys. So Kavi's like our benchmark for the bottom of the line, you know, like somebody who doesn't know how to use a tank, we go to him and be like, hey, does this make sense to you?
That's quite a way to say good job on all of your gunnery, Kavi. But
like I said, you're the master gunner, Kavi, don't worry.
Yeah.
He just asked, where's the anime titties button?
I mean,
It's a hidden button, man. You have to
goes-
find it. It's a multi-key. You gotta press 6 keys for it to happen.
we have enough tank crew members who have asked about weeb shit. So, like, I feel like that's true
It's
form
not
if we're going
happening,
for
man.
realism.
It's not happening.
Alright, I'm just
No,
saying.
no chance, man. Come
Harry
on.
says no weebs.
We've got a lot of questions. Well, I think it's one guy just asking the same question. How many random elements will there be beyond player control? And I think like it's really hard to answer that. What do you mean? Like, how many elements? How many random elements? Like 100. Let's say 100. Is that an okay answer?
you just give them a random number.
Harry,
Just throw
don't
that-
troll
no,
the
choose
community.
two. I changed my mind. Two.
I
I don't know. What's
elements
random? I
beyond
guess
player
the spread, the dispersion, maybe.
Machine gun dispersion. I would guess he means like elements that are happening to you that aren't player controlled. So like machine gun dispersion, or maybe like, for instance, right now you're looking at machine gun dispersion. In the T-72, the laser position is randomized. That's beyond player control. I guess you could just keep going down that rabbit hole.
Yeah, I guess
A
you're
lot
talking
of
about mission elements, like scenarios that have things change. There's a lot of places that question could go, and yes or no, depending, you know.
I think
Sky's the limit.
random scenarios would be really good, but I think the question might have been about the way it's phrased makes me think he's worried about basically losing to something that's completely outside his control, which I think we probably want to minimize.
Oh, I see. Well, if it relates to that, we're like we said a lot during the stream now is we don't want anything to happen to you and it just be frustrating or not like immediately convey what happened to you, right? So we're gonna make sure that when something happens, you can learn from it, and it's not just gonna be like, well, I've died. Why did I die? I don't know. You know, so.
I think there's going to be some scenarios where we just can't avoid, like you go around a corner and you just get RPG'd or whatever. Like that's something that, you know, it happens. It's hard to make a realistic vehicle game without having that scenario. But I think our way of balancing that will be you can jump in as another thing in your platoon or whatever.
Right. Well, and even that scenario, you'd be able to learn right away that, hey, you know what? Going around this urban combat scenario, there might just be an embedded RPG or ATGM somewhere, so you've learned that immediately.
Yeah.
Yes, losing your vehicle won't be as game-ending here as it is in some other games. You're not going to end up sitting and staring at a screen that says you have no spawn points, return to hangar. That's not going to be a thing in Gunner Heat PC, because that just sucks. I didn't like that when I played those games. You're not going to like it either. So we
really
have all
lame,
these support vehicles, all these other things that you could do. Why not just keep people in the game and let them keep contributing? We could score things appropriately, like, oh, you lost your crew, that wasn't very good, but like, it's not going to punish you. You're not going to have repair costs. You're not going to have your crew are on a mission for 6 minutes and 40 seconds. You know, like, just all that stuff. That's designed to punish you. That's to make you try to pay to get rid of it. That's not going to be a thing here. So we don't need to put that in.
We actually get a lot of questions that relate more to War Thunder than anything, and I think it's like, it's kind of odd. Like, people are like, oh, what's the repair cost of this vehicle going to be, or how many spawn points is it going to cost? Like, we've seen that question come up and stuff, and it's like, we're not making War Thunder, so those questions don't even have relevance to Gunner EPC in any way. Like, we're not going to have a battle rating or repair cost and stuff.
It's understandable that people are contextualizing Gunner EPC based on what they already know. We don't have enough gameplay in yet to show what we're actually trying to do.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was gonna say. Is like, I don't like blame you guys for bringing that knowledge in, because that's like what you guys are currently playing, and we also haven't really showed a lot of what we're doing. So it's like absolutely understandable why you might make that assumption right away.
Yeah, there will come a time though when what Gunner Heat PC is will define itself. You won't look at it and say where are the repair costs, because it'll be like, oh, here's what it is. Right now, people are expecting we didn't like War Thunder, so we made our own, and that's not really what we're doing. So those questions, they don't necessarily make sense all the time for Gunner Heat PC.
Yeah.
Or they
Mace
can
has it
go
right.
play some 90s simulators like Red Baron or
go
Abrams
play
Tank Platoon or whatever.
Yeah, M1 Tank Platoon or Armored Fist or something like that, and you'll see kind of where our inspiration comes from.
Do we
But
get a
with the
lot of
gunnery,
Steel
much nicer.
Beast questions? Actually, we get more War Thunder questions as we were just wrapping up there. We get more War Thunder questions than Steel Beast questions, but it does come up. I don't think we get a lot though. I don't think it's profuse.
Yeah, it's because those are what's out there right now. It's understandable. We're jumping
I think
into a
we've
market.
Accessible too, right?
Yeah.
We mostly haven't. I think we haven't convinced a lot of the Steel Beast guys yet. They're not into it, and I think they maybe think that we're trying to compete with their favorite game. And
Yeah,
that's kind of a shame.
The Steel Beast
but
guys, because they're in a very niche situation, right? Steel Beast is the only true tank simulator out there, as far as I know. And so if you see a new game come out that claims to be realistic, it immediately is assumed that we're trying to like dethrone Steel Beast or something. We're not trying to touch Steel Beast. What they do extremely well. We hope that some of the Steel Beast players will like what we're doing as well, be open to different kinds of tank game. But we're not trying to say, hey, look at our brand new project, we're better than you, and switch games. Like, that's never going to be a thing.
Right.
We get people, they almost sometimes seem to take it like an attack, like we're making another tank game, like how dare you. And that's not really what we're going for. It's its own thing. It has its own merits, and we hope that you'll like it for what it is when it comes out.
we'd
Actually,
actually
like-
kind of. We'd like it if more of the Steel Beast community would come over and give us like their experiences and what they think is important and how to design scenarios and everything that are fun.
That's a great point
Yeah.
as well, because right now we mostly have War Thunder people, because when I first started shilling for my project on Reddit and stuff, I would just post in the War Thunder subreddit and say, hey, I'm also tired of repair costs. You want to play my game? So it kind of spread that way organically at first. And so everybody has these expectations from War Thunder, and everything's compared to War Thunder. If we start to get other communities in on it, it will shape the direction kind of subtly, right? Because when we get feedback on things, we'll have a varied audience instead of just people who play War Thunder and have their specific concerns that they want addressed for a different game. If we get Steel Beast players, they have experience working with a tactical layer, doing unit coordination, combined arms, large scale stuff. That's a completely different perspective, and it's a valuable one, and we'd love to see that.
Yeah. All the sim guys, DCS players, all those people would like to hear what they like, especially with scenario design, right? Like a lot of the time they'll play those MP multiplayer scenarios, and some of them are just not fun. Like there's games that we know, but we haven't played everything, and we haven't religiously played everything. That's for sure.
Yep.
We got some of the armor community sort of hanging around, like a lot of
Waffle.
armor. Yeah, a lot of armor mod developers are sort of helping us. Some
We've
relatively
picked up a
high-profile ones.
surprisingly large number of people from Arma stuff and Squad as well. Our
Very
development team, besides the ones like me who are just, this is our only real game project that is notable, we have some people from some well-established franchises on board. It's really cool that we've been able to pick that up, actually.
And we all want better tanks.
We do all want better tanks. That's what unites us.
Yeah. Like Waffle is he made the cup stuff, or he helped make the cup stuff.
I
So
helped.
yeah, I don't want to say you made everything. Actually, Waffle was the whole proprietor behind everything. He made all of cup. No. So yeah, and we also have a sound designer who makes sounds for Arma and stuff, and he's really talented as well.
Yep.
Laxman, I think is his name, right? Yeah, Laxman.
And we haven't given his sounds justice yet. Like the sounds that are in the Patreon build right now are just the barest little snippet of what he did, and not even being used correctly. We're gonna put Fmod in soon, and then develop our audio environment to what it should be. Right now, you're just hearing like the bare minimum of audio stuff. You hear like the echo coming off the trees and stuff when you're in external view and you fire a gun. That's like fake right now. That's just the barest little glimpse of what we're trying to go for. So
Yeah.
that's getting better later on.
What you hear right now is not even a fraction of what Laxman has produced. He's actually really talented at what he does.
Someone asked, is one of our devs from Project Reality? Is that true? Do we have someone from Project Reality?
Tim's been helping a bit, and he's a Project Reality guy. And Tristan, they were both on Project Reality.
That's
but
true.
I was on Squad only.
Yeah, so
didn't
I
do
guess,
Project
yes, we
Reality.
do have Project Reality people as well. Okay, we are coming up on 2 hours. I didn't expect it to go this long. Phly should make a video about GHPC. We've been talking to Phly. We're not ready for that yet. Like, we need the actual public demo to be updated before I want somebody of as much audience as Phly touching this. But don't worry, we're in discussions.
Did you guys see what happened to event? Yeah, it's like if you saw what happened to Tiny Combat.
Yeah, Tiny Combat Arena.
Y84 or whatever, Y87.
485.
He basically, I think Phly made a video of his game, and he just like he had to shut down all his social media because he couldn't manage the amount of people just like asking him stuff all the time.
Yeah,
and we don't want to get
flooded,
into that situation. We want to grow at a slow, sustainable rate.
Now we're more prepared to have people flood in than the Tiny Combat Arena guy was, because we've been at this longer and we have a mod team and all that stuff. But the game itself isn't at a place where we want to have that like mass first impression, because this is still fairly unknown. Not everyone in the tank game community has heard of this. People will hear about it if Phly makes a video, though. So I kind of want to have the public demo updated before that. Just personal
When Phly
preference.
drops the Gunner APC video, the Discord will burn down. Yeah, we saw what Spookston did to us, man, and holy shit, man, we were excited.
We've learned from that, though. I think we'll be okay. I think it'll be fine.
We'll be prepared now.
It's just not ready yet.
I think we all remember.
Maximus thing. We weren't really wanting Maximus to do a video on us yet, but
well, we told him he could. It's just yeah, that's a separate thing.
Best time to do that.
Yeah. Anyway, we're clearly at the end of the stream now. So,
any last questions? Any last questions? Give us a hard one, man.
This is like 1 minute warning.
Your 1 minute warning. Give us the last question. Come on.
Do we want to do a Patreon Q&A after this?
Yeah. Well, let's jump into the Patreon voice chat afterward. That's a thing that we
have
do
a good
lot of
Thanksgiving.
Times. We have like a.
Did you have a good Thanksgiving?
Yes, I stayed in with my girlfriend and we made some food and that was fun. Watched Lord of the Rings.
Canadian, so I had my Thanksgiving many months before.
I ate too much food. It was great.
You've done your duty for your country.
Thank you. Thank me.
What else? Release when? Opinion Man, the roadmap is in Discord right now. We're thinking end of the year for public demo update, sometime early next year for vertical slice, and then unknown after that, a couple years for full release.
Do you have the patch pushed up?
Oh, I should push the button, shouldn't I? I keep talking about how you guys are going to get a patch. All right, let's do this.
Release when?
Make sure it's the
we
right
will
version.
release when it's ready.
7:47 a.m. All right, I'm running the batch file. As soon as it finishes scanning for the patch diff and then uploading to itch, the build will be live. That should be probably 2 or 3 minutes from right now. It'll be done. So everybody who's on Patreon as APC tier or above, you will get night vision and thermals immediately in a matter of about 2 or 3 minutes. If you are on the stream and you're not a Patreon subscriber and you'd like to play this, patreon.com/GunnerHeatPC. It's there for the taking.
Please get on in there, man. It really, really does actually help. Like everything you guys contribute. It doesn't matter if you're contributing maximum or the minimum. You guys are really helpful.
It all adds up. Awesome. We have.
Or just share the thing, man. Like,
or just share it. If you
can't financially,
if you financially cannot support us, that's totally understandable. Just spread the word about what we're doing, guys, and we'll show you support too.
Yes. I think we have a little over 700 patrons right now, most of them on a fairly low level, but it all adds up. That's why we're able to do this and why we're able to bring in all these talented developers. So we really appreciate you guys, and we'll keep going as long as you do. Okay, I clicked the button. Let me check my itch client to see if this is updated yet.
Phoenix, your comment about the ATGM positioning and stuff, if you could join our Discord if you're already in there, just give us some refs, man, and we'll use that stuff. That's the kind of information that we like to have.
Yeah, definitely ping us if you have some kind of primary source like that. We're always interested in double checking, cross-referencing stuff.
I dropped the link in chat.
Yeah,
For
there it
Discord.
is. Get in there quick because Discord's like limiting how many people you're allowed in a server now, and I think we're almost there. So
Oh,
I don't know if that's true, but I'm gonna go with it.
they did drop the amount that you're allowed. Did you not see the community post? Whatever, we'll talk about it
No,
later.
well, we're at we're officially designated as a community server now, though, so we might have more leeway there. My itch client just detected the new patch by manual check in the gear thing in the bottom. It might take longer to do it automatically if you don't do that, but the new build is live now, as far as I can tell. Version 33. Let me just run it and make sure it's the right one. It says GHPC 2020-1129. That's correct. All right, you guys, go nuts. The new build's up. And,
I think we'll have another patch pretty soon as well.
we will.
right?
We have some things that didn't
little-
quite make it into this one, and some stuff we want to fix up. So, as usual, look for a mid-month patch or something, a minor one, a 0.1 version.
Scrolling.
We're always
Next
making
question.
stuff. Our progress is consistent, but the patches have slowed down because the stuff we're working on right now is bigger, so it takes longer for each one. But we're still working. We still post teasers in the patron channels. You guys know. You've seen it. Yeah.
We're trying to give some little tendies in between, though, right? Like
Yeah.
Yeah.
just a
Little
something,
bonuses.
something.
Okay,
Attendees.
I'm gonna go and hop into the Discord server in a minute here. I'm ending the stream, and thank you all for coming. We really appreciate the interaction and the support, and if you'd like to support us, again, patreon.com/GHPC. All right, we will see you next stream. Thanks.
Bye bye.